Uber Eats drivers, what if you could quickly learn the truth about customers tipping on Uber Eats and then how to manage the risk so all your orders are profitable? In this video, I'm going to share 3 things that can give you absolute certainty when it comes just to this controversial topic of tipping. And all of this stems from my 7 years of part-time experience doing food delivery. So these tips will help you almost immediately. In fact, as a bonus, I'm going to share a technique that you can use right away to keep you from being angry at those horrible customers. Now, before we go further, this video is we're not going to go overboard on all the just despicable behavior that customers exhibit when things go wrong dealing with tipping. So let's get to that very first one. The first thing you need to know, customers that do not tip up front, they virtually never ever tip after you've dropped off the food. So this is again based off my experience. Whatever you see that offer come in at, that's all you're going to get by and large. Now, Uber Eats is smart. They know that we rely on tips because Uber Eats fails to pay us a fair rate. So usually the base pay is low, and then the mileage, it's basically they're covering like half of it. But again, that's not profitable. Usually when the customer tips, that's where we see that it's profitable. But in these examples where I'm talking about a no-tip customer, Uber Eats is compelled, if they want this order delivered, they do raise the base pay or they raise the mileage and the time that goes into doing the order. They'll raise it just enough that pretty much you're just going to think, oh, the customer did tip. It's probably just not that much. And they do this on purpose because they want you to take that offer. So after all the many times that I've done no tip orders, whether it's on purpose or not, I would say 90, high 90% never see a tip because the customer has already got it in their mind of why they're doing that delivery, how they are, and they actually don't care about you as the driver for whatever reason. So you just have to let go of the hard feelings and just realize whatever you see up front, that's all you're going to get. So, and actually, please share in the comments right now, based on your experience, please share some times that the customers have treated you poorly and let me know if they had tipped you or not tipped you. That's going to be interesting to see between all the drivers that chime in on this. Maybe there's a pattern on poor customer behavior on whether they tipped or not. So thanks for doing that. So were you able to make that comment? Please do that because that's going to make the bonus tip that much more impactful. So please don't forget to do that. All right, the second thing you need to realize, by and large, a majority of the customers that tip, when they tip, I have found that they do not decrease or increase the tip. And you may be concerned at first, but actually if you think about it, that gives great stability. The stability that this brings is great because we can base our earnings off of knowing, hey, if I accepted this offer, that's all I'm going to make. And I have found on other apps, whether it's food delivery or even grocery shopping, other apps, the customer does tend to increase their tip a little bit more. And for whatever reason, that's just not the case on Uber Eats. But again, as long as we make the money that the offer comes in at, that's great because we can depend on that. It'd be horrible if it wasn't like that and there was tip bidding going on or other things. But overall, on Uber Eats, I found that this pretty much stays stable. Another factor that plays into this, I think customers that tip up front and don't change it, it's because they're using the app quite a bit. And so they want stability as well. When their meal time is ready and that food should come, they want a driver to bring it because time is money to them. And so they want to treat drivers with respect. So this kind of stability, this is also going to play into how do you pick profitable orders, but more on that in a little bit. The third thing that you need to realize dealing with customer tipping, a very small percentage of customers increase their tip after you drop off the food. Now, before we talk about customer service, you also need to realize Uber Eats hides tips over $8. So eventually you will get the full tip, but right up front, whatever that offer is, if they tipped more than $8, you're only going to see the base pay and $8. And then an hour later, surprisingly, the full tip shows up. Now, I will say, depending on the latest programs or gimmicks that Uber Eats likes to do, when I was doing a test of taking every order for 2 years, I didn't plan on it being 2 years, but I took every order. So I had basically 100% acceptance rate. And Uber Eats would be very transparent and they would show the whole order up front. And I loved it. But again, from my experience, those orders were rare. They weren't common, but it was still nice to see the upfront tip. So because of your level that you're at with Uber Eats, maybe you're not doing it enough to where you're at a higher tier if they should choose to still have that full transparency. So that's a good, interesting thing for the diamond drivers that are going all in on the 100% acceptance rate. Please share in the comments if you do have full transparency on the orders, or is Uber Eats still playing around with that? So thanks for that as well. And also I want to mention, I have definitive proof that that is true about Uber Eats hiding tips over $8. It happened several years ago, and then I think within the last year or two, I made a video documenting that. So at the end, I'll put that up as one of the recommended videos for you to check out, and you can see the proof for yourself. And it is undeniable, and you'll see why when you watch that. All right, let's get into customer service. And, we're not going to beat this to death, but think about it this way. We're here to help the customers. We're not doing charity, so we want to be paid fairly. Shame on Uber Eats for basically disrespecting us and paying such a low base pay, and just we don't want to get into the manipulation that Uber Eats does to drivers, but it's not fun. So when it comes to customers, we still want to give the best service possible because this is a service industry. That's why there's tips involved, or there should be tips involved for great service. So still do customer service, whether you have a good experience with the customer or not, because you never know which customers may tip you more or tip in cash as well as in the app. Would you like to know how I protect myself from just overall negative feelings dealing with certain customers? And you can apply this to yourself as well. This is the bonus tip. It is so simple. Just don't take unprofitable orders. So by not even accepting unprofitable orders, you're putting yourself in a much better position where you're going to be happier. And then remember I mentioned most customers don't change the tip. And then there's that small percentage that are great and they do increase your tip. That's where you can put most of your effort. Not because we're resorting to treating customers poorly that we assume are not tipping and therefore are bad people and do bad things to us. No, you just don't even deal with that group of customers because you know how to pick only profitable orders. And you may ask, how do you know exactly what is a profitable order? I've got good news for you. I've made a video teaching you how to do profitable and safe food delivery. So between that video that you can watch next, also don't forget, I'll put up here as well a second choice for that one where I prove that Uber Eats hides tips over $8. Between both of those, I think you're going to be set up for success. So again, just remember, only pick profitable orders. Watch those videos and I'll see you there.